Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Tips and Tricks to Solve Scenario and Case Study Questions. I'm your host, Mariah Weiss, and on behalf of IIBA, thanks for joining us today. Today's webinar is a public event. It is designed to deliver practical resources for you as you continue to grow your skill set and deliver value within your organization. When you join IIBA, you become a member of an international association dedicated to developing and promoting the business analysis profession. Your IIBA membership gives you access to a vibrant BA community and resources to support your development and career growth. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Questions tab in your control panel. For this presentation, you will need to download the Questions PDF in the Handouts tab. Techcanvass has provided our audience with both sample questions as well as a CBAP Questions Bank resource. I will be pasting this in the chat at the end of the presentation. This webinar is brought to you by our IIBA sponsor, Techcanvass. Techcanvass is an information technology certifications training organization for professionals. They offer internationally recognized certifications in the field of business analysis and project management. Founded by IT professionals, they are committed to make learning a more practical, goal-oriented, and structured exercise. They also provide consulting services in business analysis. We would like to thank Techcanvass for supporting IIBA and the business analysis community. I would also like to introduce our presenter from Techcanvass, Satish. Satish is a CBAP Certified Senior Business Analyst with over 10 years of experience working on large system implementation projects across verticals like core banking, telecommunication, global mobility solutions, and software license management. And he has experience dabbling in all happening technologies like CRM, SAP, data warehousing, and more. He has worked with multiple Fortune 500 clients and has exceptional interest and knowledge in business processes and possesses the ability to understand the chain of events both on a process level as well as a technical level. So without further ado, I will hand this presentation over to Satish. I'll just make him presenter right now. And take it away, Satish.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, thank you, Maria. First and foremost, I would like to welcome you guys. Let me 1 second. First and foremost, I would like to welcome you guys. So some 2 months before, I did a webinar, and in that webinar, I had given you tips about CBAP certification, how to ace the CBAP certification. In case if you guys have missed that webinar, you guys can check IIBA YouTube channel. So there is a recording of this webinar. So let's get started. So for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to discuss about scenario and case study based questions. Because the very moment when you think about CBAP certification, your coworker or your colleague, first they say CBAP is tough. The reason why they say CBAP is tough is because CBAP has the scenario based questions. Unlike other certifications, CBAP is not a knowledge-based certification, wherein IIBA is not going to check like how do you memorize the input and output, like whether you remember the technique. IIBA is not going to validate or test that. Rather, IIBA wants you to know, wants to check your competency, business analysis competency. So if there is a question, like a scenario-based question, wherein you will have to think about how to prioritize a change request. So IIBA will give you a situation that is like in this project, this is a change request. How will you prioritize it? So when you read that question, you will have to think from the lines of what you have read in the BABOK. So IIBA wants you to choose the answer based on the BABOK context. So that is where the catch is. So always you will have to analyze, okay, this is related to this particular knowledge area. In this knowledge area, in BABOK, it is mentioned about using 3 parameters or 4 parameters. And based on it, I will choose, okay, I'll understand, I'll do an impact analysis, and then I will decide, okay, this is the best method. So these kind of questions is what we call as scenario-based question. So, or maybe I'll put it in a very simple words, any line from BABOK, it can be from a paragraph or it can be from anywhere. It can be from elements, it can be from techniques, from anywhere, one line can be converted into a scenario based question. So you will have to, when you prepare for certification, your level of preparation should be to that level. So if a line is getting disguised as a question, you should know how to apply those Weber concepts and answer it. So we have also provided you some sample set of questions, maybe some 4 or 5 questions. You can check our PDF. So when you analyze that PDF, you will know that like, okay, at what level you will have to prepare. So without much ado, let's get started. So I do believe you guys would have seen the Techcanvass portal and everything. So ideally, we are primarily into business analysis training, CCBA, CBAP, and also domain related trainings, Power BI, Tableau, and we also started a PMP training. So you guys can check out about more about our programs in our website. And before you prepare for your certification, you need to know like if I don't know how many of you are like a big fan of Pareto principle, 80% and 20%. I don't know at what stage are you in your CBAP or CCBA journey, especially those folks who are preparing for CCBA. Still, I would want you to listen to this webinar, because down the line you will have to prepare for CBAP. So in a way, this webinar is going to help you. And for those folks who are preparing for CBAP, let me tell you, I don't know at what stage you are, so let me give you a heads up. Before you begin the certification, you need to know where you have to put the effort. So if you see the contents there in the slide, it is I mean, you can notice that RADD is the most important chapter, because 30% of the questions will come. So if you have 120 questions, 30% of the questions will come from one particular knowledge area. And does that mean that rest all knowledge areas you can ignore? No. Rest all knowledge areas, on an average, 15 to 16% of the questions you can expect. And IIBA has not made it public. Like, what is the scoring logic out of 120 questions? How many questions you have to get it right? That is not at all revealed by IIBA. But after your test, once you complete the test, you get your scorecard. It will be evaluated for all the 6 knowledge areas. So IIBA will say whether you have comparable knowledge, or your knowledge is on the higher side, or is it on the lower side. So my recommendation is, try to score at least 60 to 70% in all the 6 knowledge areas. For instance, in BAPM, if there are 15 questions, try to get at least 10 to 12 questions right, so that you are on the safer side. And your special focus should be on the RADD knowledge area, because if you are not scoring at least 50 to 60% there, then in that case maybe you may have to reattempt. But let me put a disclaimer: nobody knows about that logic, because IBA has not made it public. Some folks have reported saying that like 90 questions if we get it right, 120, but these are all theories. Okay, nobody knows it. So my recommendation here is, when you start your preparation, concentrate. It's that like you put equal effort of 3 hours, 4 hours for each knowledge area, but for RADD alone you put extra additional 50% effort. And then talking about the exam, 120 questions and you get 3.5 hours. But let me be honest here, 3.5 hours is way too much. You can complete this exam within 2 hours, maximum 2.5 hours. So over the course of 1 year, more than 300 400 students have given the examination, and most of those folks have told us that like they still had 30 minutes or 45 minutes and they didn't know what to do. So this is not a time intensive examination, unlike a PMP and all. So you have a IBA has given you generosity, like 2 minutes for one question and everything, but that comes only with practice. If you're not prepared to that level, then in that case you may feel that like you may take 5 minutes for one question, but that you the blame is on you, because you didn't adequately prepare the format, or you didn't know about the IBA way of asking questions. The second thing is, how many scenario based questions? So out of 120 questions, case study based questions, let me first introduce about case study based questions. So case study based questions will be like there will be around 5 set, which is like each set will have 6 questions. So 5 into 6 gives you 30 case study based questions. And what do you mean by a set? A set means it can be 3 paragraph, or it can be around 6 to 7 paragraph. It can have some 6 7 tables, or it can have a use case diagram. So it can hover around 2 3 pages also sometimes. In my CBAP examination, I got a case study based question which went for 3 pages. So it had problem statement, it had assets, it has to be, it had use case requirements, it has functional requirements, it had non-functional requirements, and they asked me some 5 questions based out of it. So the problem here is, many folks, once they see that question is like going for 1 or 2 pages, psychologically, when you apply that, very moment when you see a big question, automatically our brain stops working, right? And we don't know what to do. Like we get that panic attack. So, and IB is quite clever in that also. So I'll explain it later. And so you can expect 30 case study based questions and scenario based questions. So out of 30, rest 60 questions will be scenario based questions. That is, you will read the question and you will get that feeling, okay, I have read this concept somewhere, but you will not be able to recollect which knowledge area it is all about. So IIBA will never give you a clue that like this is related to this particular knowledge area. So they will talk about priority requirement validation, and you will be wondering whether it is from RADD or is it from RLM knowledge area. So scenario based questions, the first job is to identify which knowledge area, which task it is all about, and then you will have to eliminate, and you will have to do that guess, and somehow you will have to find out the answer. So at least 60 questions or maybe 50 to 60 questions will be like scenario based questions, and scenario based questions will be like 3 lines or sometimes 5 lines or 6 lines. So the question will be like, they will give you a concept like Thomas is working as a business analyst, Agnes is working as a business analyst, Maria is working as a business analyst. So those kind of questions is what you can get. So 60 questions will be on the similar thing, and rest 30 questions will be like, I will say, cakewalk kind of questions, wherein it simply they will ask you what is the input and everything. So that those all things, very moment when you read, you will know, okay. Or maybe it can be technique questions like you need to generate ideas. So what is the technique that is used for generation of ideas? So you know it is brainstorming. So those kind of questions will be planted in between all those difficult questions. So don't the very moment when you click on the start button, you should know that like, okay, there can be complex questions, there can be harder questions, but at the same time there will be also easier questions that is nestled between all those difficult questions. So when you know that like, okay, this is the format, and when you have that confidence, and when you attend those mock exams and everything, when your mind is already prepared, there will be no panic attack very moment when you click on the start button, because your subconscious mind is already prepared. Okay, this question, these kind of questions, or these kind of bouncers, everything I can expect in the actual examination. So that is the first step. You're already you're like ready. Okay, I know there are around 6 case study based questions and 60 scenario based questions, but I'm all prepared. That is the mindset which you need to develop. This mindset is very essential if you want to clear CBAP in your first attempt. See, CBAP, let me be honest, CBAP is not at all a toughest certification as like what folks say outside, right? It is not at all the toughest. It's one of the easiest certification to clear. And only caveat is, you will have to give in your hard work, because there is a universal rule. Those who those who do the hard work, your hard work will never go unrewarded, right? So what IIBA and BABOK and CBAP and CCBA, they want you to do the hard work plus smart work also, because for scenario based questions, your smart work, or like the way how you went through those concepts, understood those concepts, it all will be tested. So there is no negative marking. You need not panic like, what if I get it wrong? So ideally IBA follows only four options, that is A, B, C, D. So there is no A, B, C, D, E. There is no that kind of, you'll have to choose between 4 options. And in that very moment when you read the question, 2 options can be easily eliminated. That is, you know, okay, these two are the outliers, you can easily eliminate, and from the rest two, you will have to choose which one is the right answer. So one option will sound like the best answer, and you will like to click on that answer. But let me tell you, whenever you read a question and within 10-15 seconds you are getting an urge that like, okay, this is my right answer, when you're clicking on it, please hold on, because 100% or maybe 90% that would be the wrong answer, because sometimes unknowingly we all fall into that trap. I'll talk about that trap also later during my session. So with this, understand where you need to put effort. All the knowledge areas are equally important, and concentrate more on RADD. And I get also questions that like, how can I start reading BABOK? BABOK is quite boring. The same word is getting repeated multiple times. I'm like completely lost. I'll tell you a strategy. Harness the power of visualization. It is an understatement, but let me tell you, when you read BABOK, BAPM. Okay, let's start with BAPM. When you read BAPM, I want you to imagine that you're a business analyst and your job is to, you have been hired to start a business analysis capability in your organization. So then they're asking you to create a BA approach, they're asking you to create a stakeholder engagement approach, BA performance assessment. So imagine, and once you imagine, then you will know, okay, in order to create a stakeholder engagement approach, what is the input I need? Then you know, okay, I need a BA approach document. Once I have the BA approach document, then I'll be able to prepare the stakeholder engagement approach document. This is how you will have to do the reasoning, and if possible, try to relate with your current project, because once you relate it with your current project, you will be able to understand it better. So that is how harness the power of visualization. Each and every knowledge area, each and every task, do it, and then I'll tell you, it is not hours, 100 hours, 200 hours of preparation is not needed. Just 20 hours of smart work and little bit of reading, more than enough. So now let's start with our approach for case study based questions. That is our agenda today. So read all answers to the question, and as I said, avoid that impulse of selecting the first option which you assume to be correct and ignoring the rest. The problem is like our mind is programmed, right? We all believe that like we are intelligent. I have 10 years of BA experience, I have 20 years of BA experience. I know this is the right method, I know this is the right technique and all. But to be honest, we do, I mean, we all know that like in real world, so there is a difference between what we do in our typical BA world versus what is mentioned in the PEPOC. First you have to understand that. So the very moment when you read a question, and if something flashes in your mind, hold on. You are confident with option A, but why is that your mind is not going analyzing about option B, option C, and option D? Go and analyze it and do the elimination, and then choose which is the best answer. So if you can eliminate B, C, and D with some reason, then you're all set. But if you cannot eliminate it, then sit and introspect, like why can't it be B, why can't it be C or D? That is the first thing which I would always recommend to all the test takers. Please don't fall into that trap, because many folks which I have noticed, and I've interacted with many folks who have given CCBA and CFAP, and all that I've noticed is like that urge. They feel that, yeah, this is the right answer, I'm 100% sure, 100%. They'll click on it, and then they later on they'll realize it, okay, that was the wrong answer. So let me start with my first step. Understand the exam format. I already repeated it. Some 45 to 50 questions can be case study based questions. Mentally prepare that like the case studies can be for 1 or 2 pages, or it can also go for 3 pages. It can have lot of abstract text. It can have photos. It can have images. It can have use case diagrams, sequence diagrams, all these things, or it can have access and process flow diagram. You can expect any type. It can be anything. It can be also SIPOC, it can be also value stream mapping diagrams. You cannot predict what kind of diagrams they can use. So they can completely utilize the 2-3 pages for one particular question. They will utilize it, and out of that you can expect some 2 or 3, maybe 5 questions, 5 to 6 questions for one case study, for one caselet you can expect. And how can you like answer it? So should I read all that 3 pages and then come back to the question and then answer it? I'll talk about it too also. So as I already hinted this, IIBA doesn't want to test your knowledge, because this is not like you mug up and you memorize BEBOC and then come back and sit for the examination, and we will test, like we'll ask you directly like what is the technique, what is the task. IIBA is as like IIBA for CBAP folks, because you're a senior business analyst. For CCBA, you can expect direct questions. So IIBA will clearly ask you what is the input for knowledge area, RADD, which is like, or maybe for solution evaluation, measure solution progress, what is the input, what is the output. Those kind of questions you can expect for CCBA. But for CBAP, the same question will come that like a solution is implemented. Okay, now let me tell you, a solution is implemented, and now the business is like feeling that like the potential value or the business objectives are not met. And as a business analyst, what will you do there? So now they are asking you, you have to measure the solution progress indirectly. So you know that like the input is implemented solution. Now you will have to think implemented solution, and what is the other input for measure solution progress. So implemented solution, maybe potential value of business objectives. This is how you will have to analyze, and then you will have to process that. So here, concentrate more on building that competency at any point of time. If somebody is giving you a scenario, or you go through the scenario based question, try to find out which knowledge area and which task is the context. Once you establish the context, things will be quite easy. And don't get overwhelmed. And as I told you earlier, when you click on start button, the first question will be very, very easy. They will ask you direct question: who is the sponsor? You know that sponsor is the person who will approve the project. So then you will feel that what kind of question is this. And then when you click on the next button, the second question will be a case study based question. It can go for 2 or 3 pages. The very moment when you see that question, you get that panic attack because you are not prepared. And the very moment when you see all those diagrams, right, you will be like lost. And you will think that like, what is this many, should I go through all the data? And the reason why IIBA, and not only IIBA, almost all competitive examinations, when you go GMAT, or I don't know how many of you have given SAT and other kinds of GRE and all those complex questions will be kept at the start of the examination because they want to break your confidence. Because that is intentionally kept at the beginning of the first 5 questions or first 10 questions. They intentionally keep it in order to break your confidence, in order to ensure that like only the right folks will be able to, because if you're losing that confidence, or if you're losing that like whatever you're, because what happens is the very moment when you see that question, automatically your mind will go blank and you will feel that like you have completely forgot what you have read. And I'm not telling this from my experience, I'm telling from those folks who are not able to clear from the first attempt because they fell into the trap. So whenever you see that question, no problem, don't waste your time, because first try to solve all those small I told you, right, there are around 30-40 small questions and scenario based questions. Try to spend try to concentrate on those questions, bookmark all these case study based questions, and later you come back because you will have that confidence, because you would have already solved some 60-80 questions and you're like 100% confident, okay, it's all going in the right direction. Then come back to this case study based questions, and then I try to answer them. And now let me give you some pro tip, okay? Case study based questions, don't waste your time in reading all the text, because if you're wasting your time, you will spend around 5 to 8 minutes to read all the context. Rather, first skim through the content, like what is the this is problem statement, okay, skim through maybe 30 seconds or 45 seconds, skim through all the 2 pages. Come first, read the question, okay, first question you read it, and then understand what are they asking. And I'll tell you, 50 to 60% of the questions, case study based questions, can be answered without reading the paragraph, without reading the context. You need not read the context. Directly they will ask you some direct questions like, what is the best technique in order to solve this, what is the best input for solve this. So when you read that question itself, you will be able, looking at the options, you will be able to answer those questions. So don't fall into the trap of like, I want to understand the context, only then I'll be able to answer the question. If you take that approach, your time management goes for a toss. Read the question. So if you can if you are getting that vibes, okay, I can answer this question without reading the context, go ahead and take a guess. But if you're not feeling that like, okay, I'm not able to find out, like I want to know the context, then go. And if you, when you already skimmed, you know that like, okay, first section is about business case, second paragraph is about problem statement, third paragraph is about functional requirements. Now when you understand the question, and if it is something about functional requirements, go through that third paragraph alone, understand the context, and you will be able to answer. And IIBA, though the question makers, they know that like all you have is only 3.5 hours, they have not made it that tough and all. All the information is available within those paragraphs. You just need to connect those dots. And let me tell you, 50 to 60% of those questions can be answered without reading the context. And you guys can try out, and you guys can I mean, you can share your feedback also. I would recommend you to go and attend those mock examinations and then come back and tell me how many questions you answered without reading the paragraphs. The third tip for you, mathematics questions. I mean, the very moment when we see that, like, what mathematical questions, I mean, we get that like the most dreadful topic for many, right? A subject also for many. Like, we don't like to do the calculations. But let me tell you, IBA knows that, like, okay, we all are like, we are a business analyst. So IBA has provided you that online calculator option, and the basics of addition, subtraction, percentage, and sometimes averages. This is what you need to know in order to solve those questions. there will be at least 8 to 10 questions, or maybe I'll say maybe 6 to 10 questions, wherein you will have to do mathematical calculations. So what kind of, let me give you an example. Financial analysis. I don't know how many of you know financial analysis. Net present value calculation, return on investment calculation, cost benefit analysis calculation, then talking about PERT analysis calculation. So likewise, there will be so many calculations. Sometimes you will have to combine, between in RADD there is a scenario based question, create, purchase, or both. So they will give you a weighted decision matrix, and then they will ask you which option is the best. So these kind of questions, when you go and analyze, the data will be like in tables, but all you have to do is simple addition only. And for addition also, they are going to give you an online calculator. So hardly you will take only 45 seconds in order to do addition, subtraction, and sometimes you have to do that ratio, averages, and all. But these are all simple mathematics which even a fifth standard kid can do it. So the competence, right, is just like fifth standard, what we learned in our fifth grade. The same type of mathematical questions is what you can expect, but like only thing is like you cost benefit analysis, you know, it is always benefit minus cost. So you should know those formulas. And what is the formula for PERT? Optimistic, pessimistic, 6 into 4 divided by 24 or something, those formulas, right? Remember it. That's it. And don't get I mean, I'll tell you, mathematical questions, when you get, you should be lucky, and you should feel that like, okay, those all questions 100%, because rest all scenario based questions also you're taking a guess. For mathematical based questions, you are not taking a guess, you're doing a computation and you're choosing the right answer. So you should be feeling extra confident when you see mathematical questions in your CBAP. This is what I was talking about. IIBA doesn't know that like what is your years of experience and everything, because there are folks with 20, 25 years of experience and who are not able to clear CBAP in their first attempt. But there are folks with 5 years, 6 years of experience and they are clearing CBAP in their first attempt. Why is this anomaly? It is because of the confirmation bias. We all have that bias, and we all have that ego thing that like I have 10 years of experience. Any scenario based question if they ask, I'll be able to answer, boss. Or yeah, I know you're into your SME, you're a payment SME or bank SME or anything. IIBA doesn't know all of it. IIBA wants you to choose the answer according to the WebOp context. That's where you guys will choose, because I told you out of 4 options, 2 options can be easily eliminated, and out of the two, the one option will be like in the real world context, that is the right answer. In real, because there are things different from what we do in our real life versus what is mentioned in WebOc. So in real world, you know that like a project manager is the person who will take care of the risk analysis. But in IABA, they have clearly mentioned that like a business analyst should also look into analyze risk as part of strategy analysis. But you know, the risk is a department of project manager. If they're asking you, if they're asking you a question, who prepares the risk register? And there is business analyst and project manager. So if you are the person who has not read WebOc, and if you rely on your experience, you will go and click project manager. But those folks who have read WebOc in and out completely all the tasks, you know, business analyst as part of strategy analysis should have to assess the risk. So you know, and you will click on business analyst. So that is the difference which I am talking about. Don't fall into that bias. Your previous experience is nothing. Your previous experience in business analysis is not going to help you clear CBAP. Your knowledge in WebOc and what you have learned in WebOc, how can you extrapolate it or interpret it, or like how you are able to apply that like strategically and everything? That is what is being questioned. That is what is being tested. This is like I'll tell you 100 times, because many folks, the reason why they fail is because of this one particular reason. And there is a thing 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Let me be clear. You can also prepare for 1,000 hours, or you can also prepare it smartly for 20 hours. And I've already told you, visualize. And for scenario based questions, let me repeat, any line from techniques, any line from all those elements can come to you as a scenario based questions. So now let me share, I mean, this is not an IABA question, okay? I cannot share IABA questions because I have signed that a non-disclosure agreement. But let me tell you, if I want to, like the very moment when I came out of the exam hall, right, I was thinking, how come these guys are like asking questions on this one particular line or everything? So if I'm the tester, if I'm IBA is giving me the opportunity to create question bank for CBAP, right? What will I do? So I don't know how many of you guys read this in one of the knowledge areas. In one of the knowledge areas which I'm talking about is BCP, VP, and that comes under RADD. In RADD, there is about talking about the risk. So in risk, it is clearly mentioned, not in RADD, I guess in RLM. So there is a concept called risk, and there is a paragraph, and there is one particular line. If the requirements are not clear, or if the requirements are technically not feasible, move that item to the top of the sprint or to the top of the backlog. Okay, this one particular line is hidden in one of the paragraph. And if I'm preparing the question bank, what I'll do is I'll give you a scenario. In real world, you are working in an API integration project, and one of the user story is like a very complex, and but it is of high priority. As a business analyst, what will you do? Typically in real world scenarios, what we do is we try to complete all other user stories, and then finally we will take this user story. That is what almost 99% of the folks, we all will do that only. We'll try to complete other user stories in that particular sprint, and then we'll move this user story, we'll work on this user story during the last sprint or during the last 13th day or 14th day, we'll look into it. But that is what happens in the real world. But as per IIBA, whatever is so tough, whatever is technically complex, whatever the requirement is not clear, you have to work on it first, and IBA wants you to take it up and then fail. Because once you fail in it, then the stakeholders will understand, okay, this product or MVP is not going to work. Because if you are not doing it, what happens is you will work on the other user stories, and the one user story which the user wanted, which is not technically not feasible, and if you're coming back and saying to the user, this is not technically feasible, then the client will ask you, then why did you work on the other user stories? I want a complete product, not a half baked product. So this is the reasoning which IBA expects you to be. So this is how I just gave you a clue how what kind of scenario based questions can come. And IBA also, maybe one more scenario based question I can ask you about the opportunity cost, sunk cost. So I believe you guys would have gone through financial analysis technique, right? So somebody has already invested 10 million into a CRM project, but he's not able to make any money out of it. The business goals are not met, business objectives are not met, but it is like a dead investment. And now as a business analyst, you have been hired, and you have given that responsibility in order to do that. The buzzword of today is like digital transformation. So you have been assigned that project. So as a business analyst, what will you do? So there are four options. The first option is you can ask him to start a new project, and you can introduce some automation, or you can ask him to move this application to cloud and then do something, or you can ask him to do nothing. Or fourth option will be like you can prepare a business case, and you can propose some three or four options, and then you can ask him to choose. Many folks will fall into that option D, right? Business case is a good option. As a business analyst, I'll start with the business case. So you guys will say, yeah, that is the right answer. Do nothing. You will not sure why should I recommend do nothing. So you will not give it a thought. Second answer also looks good. Second option also looks good. So as per IABA, if you have to answer this question, whatever is gone. There is no point putting more money into it. So in that case, even if you are hired in order to advise on that particular project, if you feel that like even if you put money on it, and if the business goals or business objectives cannot be met, or if it is a lost cause, then as a business analyst, you have to recommend do nothing. If you have read BEPOC, in between those lines, these all recommendations are there in the BEPOC, but you will have to understand when you read it, you will have to understand those lines and then analyze, okay, do nothing, when can I give that kind of recommendation? Because BEPOC, hardly in one line they would have summed it up, but that can come to you as a scenario based question. So I have given you two examples of how scenario based questions can come from the BEPOC context. And there are close to 500 pages. So from all the 500 pages, any line can be converted. So that level of preparation is what you guys need to make. And consider, I would always recommend you that like you should go for a classroom training, because when you go for a classroom training, you get that opportunity to interact with the trainer, also interact with your other folks, like other members, right? You can interact, understand, dissect and everything. Or if you are not interested in classroom training, I would always recommend you to take CBAP question bank. The reason why I'm recommending CBAP question bank is you would have done your preparation on your own. but you don't know like what kind of questions IIBA will ask. So my recommendation is like go for those. I will recommend only those question banks which are of IIBA standard. So Techcanvass have a question bank. So we have close to 1,000 questions, which the complexity is more than the IIBAs. That is, if you give Techcanvass questions, right, you will feel that like what is this kind of questions they will ask. But like if you're able to score 60, 70 in Techcanvass questions, right, you will be able to clear the actual examination. So practice question banks, give 3 or 4 mocks, because when you give 3 or 4 mock exams, right, you will get that confidence. Okay, this will work, this will not work. You will know about time management. You will know about case study based questions. You will know about scenario based questions, because first time when you give the test, you are going to score only 30-40%, because most of the scenario based questions you would have fallen into that conscience bias, right? So when you go back and analyze, so always enrolling for the CBAP question bank is the best method, because you will know where do you stand and what kind of preparation, your areas of improvement, everything will be quite clear. So let me let me debunk all the CBAP exams. There is no nobody can, if somebody is telling you like by heart this and everything, please run away from that person, because that is not the strategy which you have to employ. You will have to visualize and analyze what could be the input and what could be the input, what should be the output. So I took a career break, so I cannot take CBAP. That is not the right way. Anybody can give experience 7 years, 10 years. You guys can check out. So you have to do ECBA, CCBA, nothing like that. You can start with CCBA or you can directly do CBAP. So I have 10+ years experience. I will clearly clear CBAP. That is like maybe I would say once you give the first exam, then you will know like what your 10 years did it actually contribute to the exam or not. So you can take educated guess, but not for all the questions. Some questions you need to understand the web of context and task and technique context, and only then you will be able to answer. And CBAP certification is tough. Sorry, CBAP certification is one of the easiest certifications. And once you clear the certification, you will be part of that 10,000 folks, right? Because there will be at least 5 or 10 lakh business analysts across the world. Across all among all the countries, there will be at least 10 lakh business, but only 10,000 folks have that CBAP certification. So you know where you stand. So CBAP certification is not valued, only real knowledge matters. This is a kind of sour grapes story, right? So if you are not having the CBAP certification and if you feel that like your domain experience only matters, there is no recognition, because because there are also 100 business analysts who knows domain knowledge, who also have BA knowledge. But if you have to market yourself, if you have to stand out from the rest, the only way how you can stand out is like CBAP is the only recognized certification for business analyst. You guys can do CSM, CSPO, or any other kind of certifications, but those all things are not business analyst certification. A developer, tester, anybody can do it. But for a business analyst, if you have to stand out from the rest as a senior business analyst, CBAP is needed. So give it a thought. CBAP is going to be a journey. CBAP preparation and everything is going to be a journey. So give it a thought, like how can you prepare and everything? Because based on your personal circumstances, project circumstances, you need to devote time and then prepare. So now what I'm going to do is like I'll give special focus. Let me share my screen, and now I'll show you. Due to the paucity of time, I will not be able to like show all the questions and ask you like what is the right answer, wrong answer, because I don't have that time. All I have is only 45 to 50 minutes. So now what I'll do is like let me share my screen. So I'll just show you some mock questions, scenario-based questions or case study-based questions. I hope you guys can see my screen.
We can see your screen. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So let me show some questions.
I'm just getting some feedback from the audience. They just missed that part where you mentioned about the CBAP. Dominic's asking, can we take the CBAP without ECBA or CCBA?
Yes, you can take CBAP without ECBA. You can directly take CBAP provided you have 7,500 hours of BA experience. Okay, so this is how the scenario-based questions will look like. So now let's apply the strategy which I told you guys. It's about automation of oil demand forecasting, and there is an introduction paragraph. There is a product array. There is assets. There is a problem statement. There is a business requirement. There is a problem solving. There is expectations. There is a solution blueprint. This can go for 2 or 3 pages also. So this is just like, this is how case study based questions will look like. So now you guys don't waste your time reading all this. I mean, work on the strategy. So now if you go to the first question, which of the below listed technique is best suited for making reports for the reporting module? Okay, I am now they're asking me, and when I go through the options, I know they are quizzing about the technique. And in order to answer the techniques, like which is the best technique, I need not read all this concept because I know, okay, which technique is used for reports. Concept modeling? No. Concept modeling is used for business vocabulary. Straight away, I can eliminate it. Data flow diagrams? No. Data flow diagrams is used to show how the information flows between different systems. Eliminated. Data modeling? No. Data modeling talks about entity relationship diagrams and other stuff, multiplicity and everything. So I can eliminate it. Data mining? Data mining is all about analytics, but analytics you also have Tableau, Power BI, and everything, right? Because in data mining there is a reporting capability at the end of the once the data is cleaned, after the ETL, after you do the data processing, finally you will have to generate the report to the stakeholders. Then in that case, even though I'm not sure, but I'm analyzing it, then I feel that okay, data mining is the right answer because I also employed the elimination technique. These three answers I eliminated. You guys would have noticed I did that elimination thing, and then this I was not able to eliminate it, so I'm just clicking on it. So within 30 seconds I was able to answer this question. Now let me go to the next question. Once again, they are asking you what is the best option for the database module. Those folks who would have gone through this technique data modeling, it is clearly mentioned in webhook, like whenever if there is a database, it is always physical data model or logical data model. So now strategic, I guess this is something cooked up answer because there is no strategic data model. It is conceptual, logical, or physical. So this I'll straight away I'll eliminate it. But I don't know. I completely forgot what I learned in webhook. Okay, I don't know whether it is conceptual, logical, or physical. I'm confused. So conceptual. Do you think database is something related to concept? No. So I'm eliminating it. Now I have logical and physical. So logical. Logical is. Do you think database will come under some logic? No. But when you can consider database is something that can be considered as a physical entity that is storing a data. So let me take an educated guess here because out of logical and physical, my mind says that like let me go with physical. That's it. This is how you have to approach those questions. Now let me go to the next question. You guys will be thinking I would have seen this question already, and that's why. But the way how I'm eliminating the options, right? That kind of reasoning is what I want you guys to develop. I know these questions and answers, but why did I eliminate strategic? Why did I eliminate conceptual? I want you guys to focus on it. Now, okay, this question is somewhat tricky. Okay, Phil asked Jack to submit a report of expected solution benefit, cost of creating the solution, cost of operating the solution, and potential risk impact. Once again, when I read the last line of the question, it is about technique. So since it is about technique, I need not waste my time reading all this. Now they're asking you which technique is used to make his report. So I have seen as estimation, I have seen financial analysis, SWOT, and risk analysis management. So there is a reference about potential risk impact, but risk analysis you don't talk about benefit, cost, and cost of operating the solution. So in that case, I will eliminate this because risk analysis is all about identifying the risk, strategy analysis. So I risk register who will be the owner. There we don't talk about the benefit, so straight away I'll eliminate it. SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat is a strategy analysis technique. So in strategy analysis technique, you will not SWOT, you don't take into consideration the cost and benefit. So straight away I'll eliminate it. Now I have two options: estimation and financial analysis. What should I do here? Financial analysis, it talks about benefit, ROI, return on investment, net present value. Estimation, it talks about like parametric estimation, top down estimation, bottom down estimation. Now I'll have to choose. Now I'm completely confused, guys, because I don't know whether it is estimation or financial analysis. So what I'll do is, like, once again I'll read that question. Solution benefit, cost of creating the solution, cost of operating the solution. So I'm getting a vibe that like it is all about cost and risk. Then in that case I feel that financial analysis is something that is happening more of like a postmortem thing. Cost benefit analysis, everything is like on the postmortem. And the hidden clue is they're asking you for the expected. So in that case, I feel estimation is what you do that calculation, right? Whenever you want to estimate it, it is always on the expected lines. So the devil is in the details. So when you see it is expected, and if you have to make a choice between estimation and financial analysis, and when you look at this keyword, even I'm not sure, I'm going to take an educated guess and I'm going to click on estimation. Yeah. So estimation is all about cost and effort, expected solution budget, project cost, business performance. Now let me go to the next question. So now, with reference to the sponsor definition in BAPOC and information in the case study, who is the sponsor for BAL? This question I cannot answer. I cannot take an educated guess. Now I'll go back. Okay, where is this reference about Phil, Matthew, and everything? So I'll see here. Is there Phil, Matthew here? Not there in the first paragraph. Is Phil, Matthew here? No, they are not there. Even here, there is no Phil, Matthew. No Phil, Matthew, Phil, Matthew. Okay, yeah, Matthew. Matthew is the CEO of Phil. Okay, I'll write it down. And he decides in collaboration with Phil. Okay, there is a Phil and there is a Phil. Okay, I'll note it down and I'll see who is responsible. So I can see Phil will be accountable for all the commercials and Jack is the lead business analyst. Okay, I'll ignore Jack because he's a BA. So I don't know whether it is Matthew or Phil. I'll read the statement and then I'll take a guess. Then I'll try go and I'll answer it. So now, because of the time, I'm not going to analyze it, but I believe you guys would have got an understanding. So as of now, I'll just go with Phil. So now let me go to the next question. As per gain Sarson notation, so now guys can see the question from strategy analysis. Now it has come to a technique, and now you see from this particular diagram, it is a data flow diagram, and they are using in gain Sarson notation. In IIBA in BABOC, you guys can see that there is a separate chapter on the notations and all. So now they're asking you, demand generation can be described as what? Can be described as an input data, external agent, data source, none of the above. This question you cannot take educated guess. Only if you guys could if you would have seen that particular diagram in data modeling gain Sarson notation, what is the notation used for external agent, only then you will be able to take a guess. So in this case, whenever if there is an entity that is coming from, when the data is coming from a different entity, in gain Sarson notation we put it in the form of a rectangle. So in that case, I know I have seen that notation, so I'm going with a guess that it should be an external agent. This is how. So out of 5 questions, only for one question I had to go through the text. Rest all questions I was able to take educated guess. Maybe I'll open. I can also go. I'll show something else also. So let me go back. Just give me a second. So this is case study based questions. So there are close to 30 case study based questions available for your practice. So maybe I'll choose mobile e-wallet launch. This I have not checked. So let us analyze this. Okay. So there is a case study. There is some paragraph, some financial data. I can see Visa, MasterCard. Okay, mobile payment 3,70,000, and there is about solutioning, market research, product design, requirement engineering, product development, and marketing team. Okay. So first question. Trevor Smith from WinPay is responsible for ensuring balance in factors including scope, budget, schedule, resources, quality, and risk. What role is Trevor performing? This is like I'll told you that some of the questions will be very easy. So who will be responsible for scope, budget, schedule, resources, quality, and risk? So it's for you guys to explore the next question. So as of now, I'm just clicking something. So I'm just clicking on sponsor. So I know that's the wrong answer, but still. So the next question. Of the below listed questions, which one will be the last in the list to be defined requirements by Pro Analytics? This question, only when you read the context, you will be able to answer. Okay. So here also I'm just clicking because I don't have time. So I'm just clicking something and then going to the next question. Okay. Now you see this question. You are late entrant into the digital wallet. Whenever you see any question of 3 or 4 lines, 100% it is a scenario based question only. So now they're asking you, there is no capability, and once again they're asking you about the techniques. Most of the case study based questions will be from the techniques only. Now they're asking you which is the best technique in order to solve this problem. So now you are reading it and it is all about capability gaps, and the very moment if you see capability gaps, then in that case, you will have to eliminate SWOT analysis and benchmarking. Either it can be business model canvas or it can be business capability analysis, but I'm just going with a guess. It should be business capability analysis. Okay, the system is saying that is a wrong answer. So then you guys can find out like what went wrong. So here the answer, you can see it is because of web of 10.4.3 market analysis. So all these questions, it is like, this is how you guys need to practice more and more case study based questions and scenario based questions. When you practice, you will have that confidence. And multiple times you will get it wrong, but every time when you get it wrong, go and find out the reason why you got it wrong. Go back and read that back off, because each question there will be a sentence like 10.4.1, 10.4.2. From that particular section, this question is, we arrived at this question. So you guys can go and research and you guys can read it. So now I believe maybe I can take some questions from you. My session is done, and I believe for this 40-50 odd minutes, I was able to help you. I mean, to an extent, the approach which you need to follow for your scenario and case study based questions. So let me read out. So Maria, do we have any questions?
Fantastic, Satish. Thank you for so much insightful information. I had so much feedback coming in on how helpful this is for everybody. So I'll start with the first question from Kawai. This question came in around the time you were on the mathematical question slide. Should we memorize input or output diagrams of each task?
Yes, we need to remember that because I mean, remember in sense input and output is very important, because only when you know the input and output, you know that like what that task is all about. So you need to remember all the input and output, but not in the way of memorization, but rather in order to connect the dots.
Fantastic. Our next question is from Lubna. Where can we practice exams questions if we don't have a lot of experience? I have pasted in the chat at this point the complimentary resources from Techcanvass for the audience to see.
Yeah, that will be the starting point.
Fantastic. Okay, so you'd recommend using the certification training that we have pasted in the chat?
Yes, Maria, that would be the starting point for them. Maybe more and more, I mean, they can practice it, and then they can access the question bank, and then they can practice it, furthermore questions.
Good to know. Next question is from Winton. Can an exam candidate use a calculator in an online proctored IIBA CBAP exam?
Yes, so along with your test format, right? Once you launch your test screen, there is an option, online calculator option.
Perfect.
And you're not using your system calculator. In your test window, there is an option for, in order to do the calculation, you can see that option.
Thank you. Next question is from Ankit. Do they provide scientific online calculators for IRR calculation questions?
IAR calculation is like hardly, I've not seen that question. Nobody has reported that. Like IAR is like the most toughest calculation, but it is not scientific. All you get is a basic mathematical calculator only. And I don't know, I have never seen, nobody has reported about IAR, but they will ask you about the formula. But in order to work out, I don't think IAR would be there. And even if IAR comes also, the calculation logic will be different, because they will already give you the present value and other parameters in order to make calculation quite easy.
Perfect. Next question is from Amit. How different is the CCBA exam from CBAP?
In CCBA, they directly ask you what is the input. But in CBAP, they will give you a scenario as a business analyst. You're working like this, and this happened, and that happened, and then they will ask you what is the primary input that is needed for you. So one line in CCBA will get converted into 5 or 6 lines in CBAP. But at the end of the day, both are asking you the same question.
Good to know. The next question is, you mentioned math-based questions, but there aren't any math calculation examples in BABOK. How can I see such a question in practice?
You will have to go through this financial analysis, estimation, weighted decision matrix. Most of the questions will be from that, and I cannot tell you, but I mean the question bank changes every 3 months, 6 months, right? So it can be anything. They can ask you some normal addition also. They want you to calculate the total cost, or they want you to calculate the total benefits. So I mean, you need not like focus more on the mathematical questions. Just focus on the technique. Remember the formula. That is more than enough.
Good to know. Next question is, during the exam, how do we navigate back to the questions left to be tackled later?
So there is an option called bookmark. So you guys can choose like, okay, first you saw a case study based question, okay, I'll bookmark it, and then you can go back and then click on that particular question. So you will know like which all questions you have attempted, which all questions you have bookmarked. So then you can come back and remove that bookmark thing and solve them.
Good to know. Next question, what is the best way to self-study in your opinion? How do you know what to visualize?
That's a very big, long story. How you visualize. So let me tell you, I employed the self-study technique, and what I felt is that like I was completely imagining every task and every technique which I was reading. I was imagining that implementing in my current project or in my current organization or in my previous organization. I was imagining in that particular context, and it was quite easy for me. So earlier, when I was not using this visualization technique, it was taking 10 hours or 15 hours. Simply, I was reading the web of content. And when I started harnessing the power of visualization, the same content within 2 hours, I was able to relate, understand. And if you ask me, even at the stroke of the midnight, like what is the input for this particular task, I was able to tell you. And that I didn't memorize it, rather, it was already programmed in my brain.
Good to know. I'm gonna just share my screen for a second just to have the presentation up. The next question was around in the PDF example that we gave in the handout for the PERT case study. They're having trouble getting the answer based on the formula. So I'm just gonna flip to a slide with the question and answer for that one while Satish takes over to answer. So this is the question that they're asking about.
Okay, can you scroll up? There will be a table with all those calculations. Can you scroll up?
So here's the PDF, and here's that calculation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Can you scroll up? Can you scroll up? Maybe there will be a table with all those data, so they can refer that particular table. Yeah, this is what I wanted to show them. Yeah.
I see. Okay, so you'd recommend taking a look at this PDF and this table to get to the
This
answer.
table, they're able to look at this table, then it is just simple addition only. That's it.
So this will be in your handouts tab. So I'll flip back to the next question. On the real CBAP exam, will the entire case be reviewable when answering each question?
Entire case study will be?
On the real CBAP exam, will the entire case be reviewable when answering each question? So I think
Yeah, I mean, once you complete all the 120 questions, you guys can see that submit button. So till that last moment, till the last minute, you guys can go back and click on the first question, second question, and you can, I mean, you can review it. So IBA doesn't have that restrictions. You can go back and review it, click on the first question and review it, or click on 120th question and you can review it. So you can toggle and you can play around.
I see. Next question. I'd like to know what specific websites or institutions you recommend for formal CBAP exam training and practice questions.
This is sponsored by Techcanvass, so I don't know. You guys can do the research. I mean, Google is there, and go with any vendor who's endorsed by IIBA.
We have a link to our EEP providers. So there's a page on our website, but of course you're from Techcanvass, so I'm sure you have some ideas of who you'd recommend. Next, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Maria, what is the next question?
Next question. What is the cost of using Techcanvass's questions bank? If Dominic, if you're referring to the ones in the chat, those are complimentary.
Yeah, I have no idea about it. You guys can check out the Techcanvass website and you guys can write an email to the support team. I have no idea about the pricing.
Next question, where can I find IIBA grade questions banks apart from Techcanvass? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
There is a sample questions in IIBA site. If you go to the CBAP, right, there is like a PDF with sample questions. Some 10 odd questions will be there.
I'll go grab those in a second. So I'll ask the next question, and then you'll hear me kind of clicking around getting those. Next question, I obtained PMP. Would it help me with my CBAP?
Yeah. What you learned in PMP, some 25% to 30%, you will be able to relate. When you are reading WebOC, you will be able to relate. But at the same time, you will have to completely forget what you learned in PMP, unlearn it, and then you will have to imagine that like what you're learning in WebOC is what you'll have to uh, ingrain it, and then you will have to answer those questions. So you will be able to understand, relate, and everything. It will be easy. But the problem is like completely you will have to forget what you learned in PMP because that is of zero use for CBAP.
Thank you. Well, we are at the top of the hour, so we're going to have to cut it off for now, but Satish does have access to all the questions in the chat box, so don't worry, we'll get to them just offline. So that wraps up our time for Q&A, and just thank you to everybody for attending and sticking around with us right now. I'll just hand it over to Satish just for a final goodbye.
Thank you all for your support and cooperation. So if you guys have any questions related to the certification, you guys can reach out to support at Techcanvass website, and we will be responding to all your queries.
Thank you very much. Take care and see you next time.